Hi everybody, this is Will Weston, and I'm very pleased that we're going to be doing this Drawing America online course. Obviously, this is a little bit forced on us, but this is something I wanted to do anyway, so I'm looking forward to it. This video here is going to be short, and basically what I want to do is give you a homework assignment to do so that when we meet in our first class, I will have an idea of really sort of where everybody is in the drawing process or learning the drawing process. So I'm going to start, and right here I'm going to say let's make a line, and you're going to draw it soft and light. And this line we're going to basically say this is where the feet are, this is where the head is, or the top of the head. And if I'm going to put a figure, say, behind, all I have to say is this figure's feet are on the bottom, and the top of that figure's head is there. Then what I want to do, and my math is a little strange because I just divide things in half, is I'm going to divide this in half, divide this in half, then I'm going to divide this in half, and this in half. Then I'm going to divide this in half. So now I'll do it on my smaller figure, in half, and then in half. All right? So it's an 8-head figure, so we'll say 8H. And I should mention that if you study with different artists, they're going to say, you know, sometimes the figure is a slightly different proportion. I like this because it's easy, and because it's pretty easy to modify this to suit actual figure proportions. And what it does is it places elements in a convenient spot for us. When it comes to design and composition, that kind of easy approach is very, very helpful. So it's accurate enough, given that we're all different sizes actually, and it's also very adaptable, so we can make it work with different measurement systems as well. So the head is up here. So the head is 1/8. And one of the things I want to draw your attention to is that the brow ridge is at the 1/3, 2/3 point on the head, and the base of the nose is at the 1/3, 2/3 point. If I go from the base of the nose and draw to the top of the head here, this is just about 1 hand length. So if I come down 1 hand length to here, this is the pit of the neck. And if I go from either side of the pit of the neck out, the clavicle is a hand length, the clavicle over here is a hand length. Then I come down, the base of the sternum is a hand length. This is the bottom of your rib cage in the front, it's a piece of cartilage. Then we come out 1 hand length to the lowest attached rib, 1 hand length to the lowest attached rib, 1 hand length down to the top of the 3-finger gap, and I don't think I have this quite in the middle. So here is the gap, 3 fingers from the top to the bottom to the pubic bone. Now I move this pubic bone down from here to here. Okay, so now from here, parallel to the pubic bone, coming straight out, slightly outside of the hip box on a man and a little bit more on a woman, is the great trochanter. This is the outside of your femur. So it comes in, there's a ball joint, there's the outside out here. We're a little bit knock-kneed, so what happens is our bones come in, our muscles compensate for this, and this is evolutionary advantage. We can throw our legs straight out in front of ourselves, which means that we can walk very efficiently. Then the feet are down here, I'm going to say about 20%, and then the legs come out at an angle like this. All right? If I come 1 to 2 heads down to here, this is somewhat where you'll find the nipples. The nipples are on a soft part of the body, so they tend to move around, not exactly be where you want them to be. And then come down 1 more, there is the belly button. 1 more, there is the pubic bone. 1, 2, There's the base of the knee, 1, 2. There is the bottom of the foot. So that's how the 8-head figure works. Now, I'm combining an 8-head and a hand measurement. Okay, so I'm combining 8-head and hand length measurement as a way of finding the soft parts of the body and to generally construct the figure, and then also as to find bony points of reference as you go through the head. And once the class starts, I'll elucidate on this a little bit more. If I want to make my figure the smaller figure, here he is, or she, we come down, we come out, or here they are. Down, down, here to here, here to here. So already you're using a system that allows you to place a figure closer and a figure farther away. The arm comes from underneath this measurement, comes down. If we swing the belly button out, that will give us the elbow. And if we swing the pubic bone out, that will give us the wrist. And then here is the hand. Okay? And that's pretty good for the moment. All right. Now, the figure is also a volume, which means you're going to see this here going like this. And what you'll find is we're going to carry this over. I'll say that's the pit of the neck. So I'm going to ignore the head for the moment. This is going to come down. This goes here. Swing to the other side. Find the other side. Bring this down to here. This is where the 3-finger gap is. Bring it over to here. There's the 3-finger gap. There's the pubic bone. All right. And here is the clavicle. Starts here. Goes to here, and there. It'll be a little shorter on the far side because things turn away from us. All right? Then we're going to have a center line. So if I think of this as a box, there's a center line coming up the center, and that will help you to put this in. The other thing you're going to want to consider is that inside of this, and I'll go over this with more explanation during the class, is the rib cage. And fitting in here is where the hip box is. This is important because you're going to start seeing features of the body wrapping around. The external oblique, the abdominal muscle is going to fit right in here. Pectoralis will be up here. So already we're starting to construct the figure. If you draw the figure from different positions, you're going to notice, for example, if I draw a figure going like this, I might very well have a stomach coming out on the front, and I might have a little bit of the back coming out like this. Here's the scapula, clavicle. Here's where the arm would fit, so I'll just put a hole in there for now. Here, come over, 3-finger gap. So the leg is going to come from there. The leg, by the way, comes from right at the base of the 3-finger gap and right on this side of the pubic bone. I'm going to put a cylinder on the end. That's what will make the leg look round. Okay, so here's the leg here. I now know where it is on the other side. And I can bring it in from the back. Here's the rib cage coming over. So the rib cage will fit in here like this. And what happens over time is I get very specific about these shapes. But in the beginning, that confuses people. So we're going to keep it nice and simple in the beginning. Couple things to keep in mind. One is that, here, let me do it from the back too. And then I'll talk about things to keep in mind. Here, we look at the head from the back. We're going to draw a circle. And we're going to say, this here is 2/3. And here is 1/3 of the circle. I'm going to bring this in. This is the neck. That's going to be 1 hand length. The rib cage is here. This is going to be 2 hand lengths. And if I come down here, we're going to have the base of the spine, and we're going to say that's 1 hand length. Okay? Now remember, all measurement systems are somewhat inaccurate. And that's because human beings are shaped in a wide variety of ways. So all these systems are intended to get you in the ballpark. They're not really intended to replace observation. They're intended to aid observation. So from the back, the rib cage has an indentation along the spine. So here is the spinal column coming down. This goes all the way up into the neck, like this. And then here is where the rib cage, that's the lowest attached rib on that side, and you're going to notice it's much smaller on this side. We're going to, from the end of this first here, the first, right here, there's a big bone sticking out. And then you're going to come in here. This here is shorter than a hand length. This is roughly a hand length. That's the scapula. The scapula sits on top of the rib cage, and the arm fits in here like this and comes out. All right? So the arm is a cylinder, and here is where the external oblique is going to pull to the front. There is the 3-finger gap. Tailbone. Down here are the sits bones, and the sits bones are deep inside of the hip box. I'll explain that more during the class. And you never see them unless something terrible has happened. But they're there because they affect the way we sit. So there's something that affects the figure that we don't see. And then here is the leg coming. Here's the rear end. There's the leg. I'll pull it out from I pull the rear end out, or the pubic bone. I pull the legs out from the pubic bone on either side, like this. I like seeing this triangle right in here, okay? So it helps me to place the legs. So pull them out from the inside, even here. If I pull it out from the inside, you can see that this is affecting things, all right? Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to go to the website that is included with your homework assignment, and I want you to basically just work with these ideas. I just want you to work with these ideas, putting the figure together, all right? It's very simple. I'm going to go over all of it again in class and give you further explanations, but this is going to give me a very good idea of how well everybody can draw entering the class. The other thing, the thing I was going to add down here is, if you're learning to draw, these are the shapes that you must be able to draw in perspective. And to do this, or learning to do this, will give you an idea of how perspective works. And I've found that if you learn this first, perspective is less mysterious when you start working with perspective, because you start building these understandings of how it works. And I'm going to be returning to this. You'll notice that a circle here doesn't really give us much because we're drawing linearly, and that a box is very powerful from the standpoint of perspective. It's the most useful shape. You can build everything out of boxes if you need to. And one of the things that's sort of interesting about looking at these figures here is if I come in here and I put 3 cubes on top of each other like this and make them the same size, like this. The middle cube will be all rib cage, and the top line of this cube right in here is where the clavicle is. This is the base of the rib cage. If I take this bottom cube and divide it in half, that will give me the pubic bone. And if I take the top cube and divide it in half and divide it in half again, that will give me the head. Okay, now the rib cage is higher in the back than the front, which is why this is in here. So cube 1 is head. Cube 2 is rib cage. And cube 3 is basically the middle and the hip box. Okay, I think that covers it. I will see you soon, and I'm looking forward to the class. Thank you. Bye.